When I first got married, I had this dream of sailing around the world with my husband, Donnie. Well, the problem is that Donnie's a mechanic, and neither one of us know how to sail, or how to sailboat, or the money to buy one. So, our travel philosophy soon became to fly somewhere cool, rent a car, and drive. We've driven the rolling hills of New Zealand, the deserts of Baja, the rainforests of Costa Rica, a one lane cliff road in the Peruvian Andes in the dark with nothing between us and the river below except for yellow painted rocks. And I'll be honest, some of those drives were absolutely terrifying. Some were incredible, and most were both. And not a single one of the stories from these trips happened because things went according to plan. Hey there, I'm Karen, and this is Karen Roams. And before you ask, no, I'm not a travel influencer. I don't have a brand deal. I'm more like that friend from the 90s who made you a mixtape of bands you'd never heard of before and then dragged you to a show in the city that you'd never been to, and it turned out to be the best night of your year. That's what this channel is, a mixtape from someone who's been making mistakes in beautiful places for 30 years and has the stories to prove it. I'm doing this with my husband Donnie, who will drive almost anywhere, which, as you'll learn, opens a lot of doors. And occasionally on my own. I don't drive a fancy car or get my nails done every week, but I manage to find ways to make things affordable so we can go farther for longer. That's how we afford this. I'm not going to tell you that travel has to be expensive. I used to think it did. We stayed in a 5-star resort in naughty Fiji. It was beautiful. It had an infinity pool, the whole thing. And the best part of the entire trip was the few days we spent on the other side of the island in a friend's small local hotel, where the staff knew our names by day 2 and somebody's grandmother was making us breakfast. Rick Steves, the patron saint of the sensible traveler, said it best. The more money you spend, the more you distance yourself from a culture. I didn't really fully understand that until Fiji. Now I get my hair cut twice a year so I can afford to stay an extra week on the right side of the island. And look, I know what you're thinking. You've got a job, you've got kids, you've got a dog who stops eating the moment your suitcase comes out. You don't have 3 months in a trust fund. Neither do we. We still own 2 small businesses, we have kids, we get 3 weeks at a time, sometimes less. The trick isn't having unlimited time, it's being ruthlessly intentional with the time you have. 2 days in the right neighborhood beats 5 days in the wrong resort. I'll show you how I plan a trip that actually works. Travel's a choice, not a circumstance. This channel is about learning to make that choice well. So, our first real trip was our honeymoon in Puerto Vallarta in 1993. We had $1,500 between us and thought we'd have money left over when we got home. Well, we had exactly enough to get the car out of Hawk at the airport. We had a great time. But we were doing resort travel, booked by a travel agent back in the day, the only kind of travel we knew. Things were performed for you, sold to you, and occasionally added to your bill without your knowledge. The next year, some new friends invited us to stay at their mom's home in Nosara, Costa Rica. Spanish style, red tile roof, a covered patio where you could watch howler monkeys swing through the tree line below while you were drinking your coffee in the morning, and a spiral staircase up to a mirador with a sweeping view of the Pacific Ocean at sunset. We flew into San Jose, Costa Rica, then caught a 12-seater regional plane. The pilots, who looked like they were 17, seated you based on the weight and balance of the plane and tossed your luggage in the back. They would do a low pass over the gravel runway before landing to disperse all of the livestock. And Donnie didn't puke, so that was a bonus. And everything was different in Costa Rica. Nobody was running a timeshare hustle, nobody was padding the bill. Strangers invited us over for sunset beers, or we invited them. People from everywhere, and the wonderful ticos who live there, all just together, talking, laughing, watching the sun go down. We went back to Costa Rica 8 times over the next 8 years and loved every minute. What Costa Rica taught us, and what every great trip since has confirmed, is that friction changes who shows up. A gravel runway and a 12-seater plane weeds out the people who just want a pool. What's left are the travelers who wanted it badly enough to get on a plane, that a 17-year-old landed by feel. Those are my people. Those are your people. And that's where the good stuff happens. Ever since that house in Costa Rica sold, we've been chasing a specific feeling. Not the best view, not the most Instagrammable hotel, the thing that happens on day 4. When the lady at the bakery remembers how you take your coffee, when someone invites you somewhere because they actually want you to be there, not because it's their job. That feeling of, for just a few weeks, being from somewhere instead of just passing through it. We've got pretty good at finding it, and we've learned that it almost never happens at a resort. Right now, we're in the scouting phase, trying to find 2 or 3 places in the world where we could eventually spend a few months a year. Maybe one in Europe, one in Latin America, Southeast Asia. Somewhere that's not a tourist trap. The next Nosara, before someone discovers it and opens a boutique hotel that charges $25 for a hamburger. And along the way, we're going to show you everything. The places that blow us away, the ones that didn't connect the way we expected, because that happens too, and nobody really talks about it. The drives that made us question our life choices, the meals we couldn't identify but ate anyway, the times we got it completely wrong and had a better story because of it. You have to go before you're ready. The best part is usually the part you didn't plan. Here's what I promise. We won't sugarcoat this. This is real travel on real budgets. Real moments where Donnie and I looked at each other and said, what are we doing? There'll be episodes about things going gloriously wrong, because those are always the best stories. But the practical stuff too. How I plan a trip in a few hours, how I find a local restaurant in a tourist town, how to drive in a country where the rules feel loosely interpreted. Honest episodes about traveling with kids, which is wonderful and exhausting. About landing somewhere you were so excited about and just not feeling it. About the places that were beautiful on Instagram and kind of hollow in person. We've had both. You'll hear about all of it. Here's the thing about becoming a confident traveler. It's a muscle. You build it one uncomfortable moment at a time. You learn how to ask the Vietnamese pharmacist for Benadryl in pantomime, because for some reason Google Translate couldn't do bee sting. So there I was, shoe off, pointing at the swollen lump on the bottom of my foot, doing my best impression of a bee in a pharmacy with a line of people behind me. It took a minute and a fair amount of patience. The pharmacist was so nice, and you know what? We got there. It was fine. Each uncomfortable moment builds a muscle for the next one. Your confidence grows, your experience gets deeper, because you earned them. My advice to someone who's new to adventure travel is book that all-inclusive Cancun vacation, but just add 2 days in the front of the trip to stay in a place that doesn't have a chain hotel. Eat somewhere without an English menu. Get a little lost. Hire a driver on Uber or Grab for the day if you aren't ready to drive yourself. You'll probably be uncomfortable. You probably won't die. And you might end up with a more interesting story than how drunk you got at the resort pool bar. The best travel stories are the ones you never planned. We've got 30 years of proof. I'm Karen. You guys are my romies. Welcome to the crew. Now go get lost. On purpose. And hey, if any of this sounds like your kind of travel or the travel you wish you were doing, hit subscribe. I'll post 3 times a week, and I promise at least one of those will involve something going sideways in a foreign country. And if you've got a place you think we need to go or a travel disaster story of your own, drop it in the comments. Robies take care of each other.